Eddie Edwards starting to get back up. Here comes the champion. Boston Knee Party! Boston Knee Party! Boston Knee Party! And Eddie Edwards is world champion! Eddie Edwards did it! Eddie Edwards is now world champion!
Calling the match, and new TNA world champion, Eddie Edwards!
Hey, what is up, everybody? BQ here, King of the Mountain Podcast. Thanks for tuning in and being a loyal listener each and every week. We really appreciate it. In the house, of course, we got the normal cast. We got Will, we got Kyle, and this week we got our buddy Mike in. So we've got a four-man show going on today. Mike, what is up? Tell us about your podcast.
How are you, BQ? Thank you very much for having me. I am one half of the S&M Show podcast, along with my friend Steve Nicaforo. We do it pretty much, we try to do it weekly, but, at times, depending upon our schedules, but we do get it out there. We're up to our 18th episode. We talk mostly pop culture. I have wrestling podcasts on the side with Anthony Walker from the Wrestling Matters podcast in the UK. My buddy Kyle here doing the Wrestling Maniacs podcast. I recently just had Will on for a couple episodes. Great stuff, talking wrestling, talking everything. I've been a wrestling fan since 2002, came in late into the game. Then I watched the Golden Era, the Attitude Era, and WWE fan, TNA fan, just your typical wrestling fan. Happy to be here and happy to talk Impact Wrestling, TNA, whatever you want to call it. I just call it a great product. Happy to be here.
Hell yeah, we're happy to have you on. I was telling you guys offline here a little bit, telling the listeners, I finally pulled the plug and canceled the WWE Network.
Wonderful!
And I received a lot of hate for that, and I didn't even do it in a negative way. I just said, hey, for no other reason, not for any negative reasons, I just don't have the time to watch, so I've canceled it. And I got all sorts of people, you hate the WWE and da-da-da. And they were our own Twitter followers, so I was like, what the hell,
Hey, man, entitled to your opinion.
F them and boil them in oil.
Dude, the McMahon robots are going to get sent to your house, Give me your $9.99, damn it. He's going to, he's going to hear what you just said on this podcast and go after you.
It's all about the money.
The money. I haven't logged on that thing in 4 months, so the last pay-per-view I watched was Extreme Rules, and I was so disgusted by it.
Baron Corbin being
I stopped. I completely stopped, and I said, and it's not even a negative way. it's my challenge. I'm trying to be one of those people that say, I don't like it, rope me back in, do something to get me back. But, 4 months later, it hasn't happened, so I pulled the plug, saved myself some cash, put it to the podcast. So, definitely, guys, check out TNAMecca.com. They do really good things for our podcast. So, hop into forums there, talk to other TNA fans, and read the exclusive content they have on the site each week. If you are on Facebook, we are not on Facebook as a podcast, but I still will direct you over to the TNA Fan Zone. Their URL is facebook.com/besttna fan page. So that's a good place to head over. If you're listening to us on YouTube and you click the description, I have a lot of links for different Facebook pages. They could be fan pages, they could be groups or whatever. So there's good wrestling pages, good TNA pages. So check it out. We just got a lot of supporters, a lot of affiliates. We just plug, Mecca and TNA Fan Zone. But we got a couple others. Definitely check them out. Shouts out to the TNA Asylum Heelcast. I always say that wrong. I think it's TNA Asylum Heelcast. But shouts out to them. We did a really good preview of Bound for Glory with them. The listenership was great. It was really fun collaborating with those guys. And Will and Kyle just hopped on with them this week and did a review of Bound for Glory. So whether it's Podbean, whether it's YouTube, whether it's iTunes, check that out. I did my own review of Bound for Glory. It was a very... I shouldn't say it's quick. It was an hour long, but it was my own review of the show, and I also did an opening for about 20 minutes talking about branding and rebranding and why that's important for TNA, and that it's not just about a name change. It's about a culture change. So, I'm very educated on marketing, branding, and stuff like that, so got into that a little bit. Shouts out to Booking the Territory podcast, who always has great things to say about us on their show. In turn, I try to say really good things about them. My favorite segment of theirs is that every week they do a top 5. Could be top 5 underrated wrestlers, top 5 overrated wrestlers, top 5 tag teams, you name it. So they do a really good job with that. Kyle, plug the Daily Impact, and then you got something else you wanted to talk about.
Yeah, as usual, listeners, you've heard me many times on the podcast putting it out there. For those who don't know, you might be a newer listener to the show. For a little over a year, I've been running an Impact Wrestling fan page over on Instagram, The Daily Impact. It's one word. Please subscribe, like, comment, help me out with that, just keep trying to grow that because, the more that grows, the more this grows, It all comes hand in hand, trying to get a nice platform there for TNA fans to interact and whatnot. And the other thing I wanted to talk about, BQ, is so I got that Roku stick. I've had it for a while. I never used the thing. I bought it for a few wrestling shows, but for the most part, it just sits around. I never used the damn thing. And I was bored last night, so I popped it in. I'm playing around with it, and I came across the Fight Network app. I had heard of the Fight Network app earlier on, right before the summer. I remember TNA made an announcement about it, but I just wasn't too sure about it. You didn't hear that much about it. I just really wasn't. I was pretty clueless about it, so I checked it out. You get it for free for the first 30 days, and then after the 30 days, they charge you $2.99 a month. You can't go wrong with $2.99 a month. That's a good deal. And so what they got on there is you get all the pay-per-views because it's still new. I'm sure more will be uploaded as time goes on. It always gets updated. But right now they have all the TNA pay-per-views from 2009 to 2015. But then they have the one-night onlys from 2016, so that gets updated. You can watch Explosion. That's what really drew me in because I'm always looking for Explosion, and it's hard to find links for it online because it doesn't air here in the United States. So they got Explosion on there every Saturday night at 11 o'clock. I love the spin cycle. Who doesn't love a good old spin cycle? But, yeah, it's definitely worth the buy, man. There's a lot of stuff on there. And they have, other shows. There's a show called TNA's Greatest Matches. They have this one exclusive show called Inside Impact, which is kind of like The Week in Impact Wrestling, hosted by Josh Matthews. So, yeah, listeners, if you're unfamiliar with it, definitely check out the Fight Network app. Lots of fun there.
Doesn't Mackenzie do that show with him?
Well, I just got it yesterday, and the 2 episodes I watched only had Josh, but other ones, there's a good chance Mackenzie's on there. I'll have to double check with that. I'm still getting, I've only had it for a day, so I'm still getting, used to it.
Man, at Bound for Glory, she was on the non-camera side, fucking around on her phone the entire show.
Wow, taking selfies on Snapchat.
Dude, yeah. I mean, I don't think she was surfing the internet, but I think she was working Snapchat and Twitter or whatever.
Probably has a script in there. Lines and whatnot.
I shouted out Booking the Territory a second ago. Mike Mills, I know you listen to this show, man. Will had a great idea. He thinks that you should do a top 5 booties show.
Why not? I mean, hey, there's a lot to consider. And that's a good show that you want to be, you want to be thorough, do your research. So you go back and look at old matches and old photos from women over the last 30, 40 years of wrestling. And then you can just simply go ahead and put your top 5. It's going to be intensive research to get a good top 5 with that.
And Will even be a special guest on that show. Will could do that show in probably 3 minutes. He could do his research.
Yeah, I probably can name 3 of the people just top of my head now.
If we showed Will pictures of wrestling booties with the actual, head and everything cut out of the picture, he could probably guess who they are. I mean, this guy's like the Mike Tenay of wrestling ass.
That is a great analogy, dude.
Accurate, too.
Make sure to follow us on Twitter at KOTM_podcast. We're getting pretty close to our 2,200th, so our 2,200th follower. There we go.
It's funny, BQ. You're probably not going to find this very funny. You're probably going to be mad about it. But if you listen back on the TNA Asylum Heelcast Super Show with me and Will without you there, since, you're the social media guy, you run the social media for the page. The Twitter is essentially your Twitter. And there's a part somewhere in the show where they ask us to plug the Twitter social media, and me and Will are both kind of I think it's KOTM podcast, We're positive on it because it's your account, It looked very professional.
And you're supposed to be the Knockouts champion?
When I knew you guys were going on, it's so funny to say that. When I knew you guys were going on, I was like, I bet those fools don't have a clue what the Twitter handle is.
Yeah, we both kind of just on the fly put something out there. We probably published the wrong account, but it's something close to it.
I think they cut it out because I listened to the show. I don't remember that happening.
Yeah, they could have.
That's funny. I want to plug real quick, guys, DraftKings.com. If you guys are into fantasy sports, look, I used to play fantasy sports for years and season-long fantasy sports, and it gets boring because people hop out and people aren't consistent. And it's only fun for a couple weeks, maybe a couple months, and then it gets really old. But then I stumbled across DraftKings.com. And if you've been listening to the show for a while, I have told the story that my son and I went to Slammiversary VIP free because I used my winnings from DraftKings.com. So if you want to give it a shot, they do all sorts of sports, but NBA is the one that's most enjoyable. So you just go to DraftKings.com/BQMusic, and or you actually go to DraftKings.com and use BQMusic, BQMuzik, as your code, and you can play for free with your first deposit. And I'll even do one better. If you do it, hit me up. I will add you to a mailing list during the basketball season, and I will email you lineups and things like that. So.
Wait a second. I'm not even on that mailing list and I play.
That's because I'm just starting it.
Wonderful.
You and I are going to collaborate on some DraftKings stuff this year, so.
Yeah, that's more likely because I ended up winning I used winnings to buy a new guitar and a whole bunch of things by finishing number 1 in the country. And unfortunately, the top prize was just $300, but I've done that 4 times, so I'm proud of that. 2 in basketball and 2 in baseball.
Oh yeah, we're definitely linking up this year then. put our heads together. Last thing I want to plug before we get into the show is we have 2 t-shirts up at Pro Wrestling Tees now. So if you go to Pro Wrestling Tees and search under podcasts, you're going to find King of the Mountain podcast. I don't know the URL off the hand. I think it's Pro Wrestling Tees, KOTM _podcast, just like the Twitter. But we got 2 shirts up, really nice shirts, and that will really help support the show and support the monthly fees that we deal with.
Get that swag. Get that swagger, people. And you know what? How about this, BQ? How about this? Listeners, if you get the shirt and you send us a picture of you wearing the shirt, you know, you prove to, and I got the eye for Photoshop. Don't be pulling none of that Photoshop stuff. You take a picture of yourself wearing the shirt, and just maybe we'll Skype you in and let you make an appearance, a nice quick appearance on the show, you know. You could talk about how much you love the shirt. So send us a picture, and we'll post it on social media regardless. Get the shirt, send us the picture, interact with us, help support the show.
Oh yeah, I like that idea, and I think we should also send them to any guests we have on in the future as far as guests from TNA. I think that would be a cool thing to do. With that being said, we do have a guest lined up for probably next week or the week after. Not going to say who it is quite yet. But if you DM me on Twitter your 3 guesses of who you think it is, and if you are correct, we will let you get on the show and ask some questions. All right, so I think that's pretty cool. I will just put out there that it is a male. It's not a female. All right, guys, let's get into Impact. I was at this show, so my take is going to be maybe a little bit different than your guys. It was nice to listen to it last night with commentary, because sometimes you don't quite understand what's going on. And especially in a couple segments, definitely get into that. But the show kicks off with Lashley. Now, I want to get into this real quick. When I walked into the arena, it was bare, and it took a little while for this arena to fill for this show. And they ended up doing an explosion match. JB was wasting a lot of time because the start time was different than Bound for Glory's. So I think there might have been some confusion. And they ended up doing the Fact of Life beforehand too, so that kind of helped the cause. But
excuse me, BQ, how did JB go about wasting time? Fans would love to know how he does that.
Well, what he does is between matches, he'll walk around with the microphone and hype the crowd up. So, you know, for instance, there was this one time Maria and Mike Bennett were coming out, and I'm not going to spoil too much of this because it was for next week's match for next week that Maria was having. We know she's fighting Gail Kim next week. They said that on the show, but he basically was talking about the stipulations of the match, and he was getting people to boo Maria. You know what I mean? So he said, in 1, 2, 3, let us know what you think about Maria Kanellis Bennett, and then it was like 1, 2, 3, and everyone starts booing, and then that's when they start playing the music. So he's really good about getting the crowd to boo or cheer when they come back from commercials and stuff. But he was walking around and he was just like, so, like, who's the loudest section and who's this and this, and like it was just, he was just talking to talk, like, because he was kind of like, I guess they were waiting for people to fill it in a little, because the show probably kicked off half an hour after it was supposed to, because they were waiting for people to fill in. So when you're watching this opening segment on TV, I saw a couple douchebags online be like, oh, that crowd is so dead. Well, that opening segment was not the final crowd. It was still kind of bare bones at the time, but shouts out to the TNA camera team, because they were able to capture who was there and make it look like there's more people than there really were. But by the end of the night, it filled up a little bit more. It wasn't the world's best crowd, I'll say. To me, it was loud in the arena, but watching on TV, they had their good moments and bad moments. But we kicked off with Lashley coming down, bragging like he always does, and this became a forum for all the champions to come down. So Aaron Rex came down, Gail Kim then came down, and at first I thought this was setting up something between Lashley and Rex, but then when Gail came down, you kind of realized you kind of knew what was coming. Then Matt Hardy comes down with Reby and Maxwell and DJZ. So one of the exciting things about being in the arena is that there's so many things that they edit out on TV. But when they came into the ring, this did translate to TV a little bit. I don't know if you guys caught they were cheering for Maxwell.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
They were cheering the shit out of this kid. I mean, like, to the point where they couldn't continue with the promo. Like, they were just like, Maxwell, and then they started going, Maxwell's better, like, every time Lashley tried to talk. And Lashley completely broke character. He's like, you know what, I can't even be mad at this. And he just started laughing. Reby was like, she couldn't keep it in. She started laughing. Matt was laughing. Everyone lost composure. And so it was funny. Obviously, that's not how it translated to TV. And then I picked up on the moment where Lashley got back into character and started talking. That was right before he left the ring. So that happened. Matt also said in this promo, this was for the audience, because the Wolf Creek cage match, even though it happened last night, it didn't happen the first night of taping. So Matt had told the crowd, I gave my platoon the night off. Brother Nero, Vanguard 1, Senor Benjamin, I think he said Skarsgård too. Like, he gave them all the night off. Billy Corgan comes down.
Woo! Cowboy!
Will, what did you think of his Liberace outfit and Aiden O'Shea making an appearance finally this year?
Finally, good to see Aiden O'Shea. What was he wearing? It looked like, and the thing around his neck looked like something that pimps would wear.
Excuse me? I can't believe it.
What was that?
I don't know. It was the most random outfit.
It looked like a golden pacifier or something.
I don't know where he's going with that, dude. I really don't. I was happy to see Aiden O'Shea come out, though. Because remember, I've been saying on the podcast that Vince Russo was told by Billy Corgan that he had a role for Aiden O'Shea coming up.
Yeah, and we found out what it is.
I think it works, too. It was a good way of introducing him back in.
Yeah, but you can see and we'll get. I know we'll cover this later in the broadcast, but you can see where this entire thing is going. And it's going to be funny. At least I hope it is. Hope they do it better. I hope they just do it better than that Connecticut outfit. The people up in Stamford. It's
funny because Billy was saying in an interview before Bound for Glory that he doesn't want to be on TV. He wants to get us to the point where he doesn't have to be on TV. But obviously they're going with it right now because they have Aiden O'Shea teamed up with them. So it looks like they're going to go somewhere with this. But then again, Billy's not. I mean, is he going to be a heel character? Which he had already said Vince is the only authority heel character. Like he said, no one can do it like he does. So it's not even worth trying. But then Aiden O'Shea's a heel, so maybe he's not, though. I don't know.
You talk about Billy Corgan's outrageous outfits. I'm a fan because I see him wearing, these ridiculous threads, and I say, hey, this guy's got some money. If shit hits the fan, he could clean it up if he's able to dress like that. So, Corgan, floss all you want, man. You look great.
I'm just going to say I enjoyed the whole segment. I like seeing Aiden O'Shea back. He's a great talent. I like the whole pairing with Billy Corgan, and yes, I thought Corgan looked like a pimp with the hood up and that whole thing. But yeah, whatever. But I don't mind it. I like Corgan. I think he's going to do well for the company. I like that they actually have a role for Aiden O'Shea and that he's back on our TV, and I look forward to seeing where it progresses.
Shouts out to Serious Brad. He just sent me on Twitter a message, and he wanted a shout out on the podcast. If you subscribe to our YouTube channel, he does a weekly question segment every week. I'm sorry. So shouts to Serious Brad. I know you were entertained by him, Kyle.
Attention!
He's entertained to the point to where he's speechless.
Okay, I guess we lost him for a second. So Billy Corgan has now let the champions know they will all be in action except for DJZ. So we're going to get into this first match. And, again, I'm going to talk about being there for this segment. DJZ had said, tonight's the debut of Team X Gold. And, you hear, two people pop on TV because no one in the arena, we didn't know what he was talking about. And it's one of those things you have to know. You have to know the audience. You have to know the situation. I feel like he should have just been like, well, tonight we're debuting Team X Gold. Stay tuned for that. You know what I mean? There's another way to word it than to Team X Gold and then stop to wait for the crowd reaction because they didn't know what he was talking about.
Could have been a better way to explain it to the live crowd and to the audience watching at home.
I'm still trying to figure out what's going on with this Team X Gold. Not watching the match.
Yeah, guys, you got to hear this, though. Listen to this. Listen to what I got to say real quick. You talk about this Team X Gold and about that Fight Network app I was talking about earlier. Check this out. So today, right before we did the show, I was watching this week's episode of Inside Impact because they uploaded it today. So I'm watching it, and so in this episode, you see clips from the Team X Gold match. You see clips from it, just a few highlights. And then it shows a promo that wasn't on TV where all three of them are backstage, sweating, panting, talking about, it was a great victory, whatnot. And now I could be wrong, but I'm almost positive I will go back and watch it after that. In this little promo, they go, we need a name. We need a name for the team. And they're talking about names. He doesn't. I think he comes up with Team X Gold, but they're talking about we need a name for this team. But that doesn't make any sense because in the episode they introduced it and hyped it up, and they told you tonight is the debut of Team X Gold. But in this little promo in the Inside Impact episode, I'm positive I will go back and watch it while we're on the show here. I'll walk over to my TV and turn it on. They stop and they're thinking of a name in the promo. They didn't come up with Team X Gold. I think they come up with it at the end of the promo, but it's just kind of confusing.
Now, Kyle, if you're wrong, then you must be placed on Roku punish. No Roku rest of the year. no Roku for you.
20 lashes.
I'm going to go over there while we're here on the show, and I'm going to turn the episode on while I'm muted, and I'm going to figure that out and get to the bottom of it. But I couldn't believe what I was hearing. I got to go back and look.
It was really confusing, and us in the audience when they finally had the 6-man match go down, again, we have no clue what's going on. So yeah, they had to do it better. I was like, man, I can't wait to hear it on TV when I get home, and then it was still confusing.
Oh, okay.
Because all they said was the rules will be strictly enforced, which in an X Division match, you would imagine that would be where you want the rules to have some leniency. But he said it'd be strictly enforced. When they tag out, they must leave immediately, which did happen for the most part, but a couple times it didn't. And then it said the team will stay a team. Now, there's only 2 people left in the X Division after this. That's Rockstar Spud and Caleb Conley, who I will imagine is going to be a team.
Make a good lucha.
But we did get Mandrews, Braxton Sutter, and DJZ against Everett, Lee, and the debuting Marche Rocket, who is a heel.
Yeah, that one surprised me.
So I think we're all in agreement, so we were confused by this, right? What's going on?
Yeah.
Definitely.
That is correct.
With that being said, Will, what do you think about the match? Were you still entertained by the match, or were you just confused with what was going on?
You mean the strictly enforced 6-man tag normal match that we see all the time anyway?
It's banned in 49 states.
It was a good match. Marche Rocket looks so much bigger than these guys. I know he's 6'5", but just it's like having your offensive lineman standing next to the opponent's defensive back. He just dwarfs these guys with his size. It was okay match. I was still trying to figure all the rules out and everything. I liked the action, but it was what we've seen this movie before.
I thought it was fine. I mean, Marche Rocket, I think for his size, very impressive athlete. Big fan of Trevor Lee and Andrew Everett. I like to see Andrews get his shine, and I think he's amazing at what he does. Braxton Sutter's great, and I like DJZ. He's worked hard. I've been a fan since his Zima Ion days when he was going against guys like Jesse Sorensen. I mean, all these guys are great athletes, but, I did like the end sequence, where Everett was going for the moonsault. DJZ got the knees up, the power bomb by Sutter into the shooting star press, which is sweet. I love the way he executes the maneuver. But, yeah, I thought it was fine for what it was, and it was a nice way to execute the X Division.
Wait, here's Mike, you just mentioned the matches with Jesse Sorensen. I like how you throw that in there casually, like they had great matches. He paralyzed him.
I'm saying...
He almost killed him. You think Jesse Sorensen likes remembering those matches?
Hold on a minute. I'm talking about before that. I'm not saying, that part. I mean, obviously, that's horrible. I'm saying the build-up to it, but then once you got to that was like, oh, yes, obviously he was paralyzed. I was about to go back to that, but okay.
BQ and Will, are you guys familiar with that incident?
I'm not at all, no.
Yes.
All right, DJZ hit a suicide dive on this guy, Jesse Sorensen, and the landing was bad, Sorensen, and the landing was bad, and Sorensen was paralyzed.
Yeah, he did the moonsault, and I think the knee got him, right in the head, and he was, paralyzed from it. Yep, that was a traumatic moment. I mean, they were having a good match until just one little mishap, and then boom, like that.
You caught that one, Will?
Yes, I did, and I think that he is. I think he ended up eventually being okay. I'm fact checking now.
Yeah, because Jesse Sorensen has wrestled on NXT as a
I think it was a broken neck, and I don't know if it was full out paralysis, but
he wrestled. No, he wrestled earlier this year.
He definitely got messed up for. He was definitely out for at least a year and a half, 2 years.
He was out for a year.
Nice.
He C1 vertebrae fracture, spinal cord swelling, and he was out for a year.
I think he was one of James Storm's opponents in NXT.
You might be
I
right.
think he was. I remember
he wrestled Baron Corbin, I think, as well.
Baron Corbin
that might be the one
being
I'm
on
thinking
SmackDown.
about. That's back when I watched NXT.
Yeah.
Here's my thing with the X Division. We need to know what the X Division is, because people are quick to say, well, there's an X Division style, a cruiserweight style. Well, the division, when it first came out, like in WCW days and everything, there wasn't a style. Cruiserweights represented a weight class. So there wasn't a cruiserweight style back then. Now it's become, there's an X Division style, a cruiserweight style. Well, I'm still under the old school mindset that it's a weight class. So if your weight class is like 220, that's why we see a guy like Braxton Sutter in it. Okay, he's not flying around. Well, he doesn't need to be flying around because he's within the lightweight category. And same with Rockstar Spud, doesn't do anything crazy, but obviously he's a smaller guy. But then with that being said, now we have Marche Rocket in the division, who's obviously over 220. The dude's got to be 6'4", 6'5". So we have to know, what is the X Division? Is it, if it's no limits, kind of like the promo says, then that's fine. You could be big, small, whatever. Samoa Joe wrestled in the X Division, but I don't know. That's just me. I feel like there's a disconnect. What is the X Division?
Yeah, I think that if you want to give clarity to the X Division, first off, you need to probably have more than 8 people in the X Division. Now,
It's just a fact
a
of
couple
life.
things to keep in mind. How many talents are not presently getting TV time? Those are spots that you can come up with something. Next division is supposed to be creative. Hopefully you see the same thing with the Grand Champion, but we'll come back to that later. But it has to be better utilized, maybe be more inclusive. They had a great angle when Bully Ray was like, hey, I can go in this division, where he pretty much, we remember the angle where he lampooned it and got in and did his thing there. You can do something similar if you made people actually want to be in the division. That's how you could resurrect and save it. But until then, they don't do that, then why care?
You remember when they had the Divas Revolution or whatever it was called, when like Sasha and all them got called up?
Yes.
So that was cool for like 2 weeks, right? And then it was the same people fighting week after week after week. And that's the best comparison I can give, because those were three-man teams, and everyone else was not utilized. They had 3-man teams, and now it's like we have two 3-man teams. I'm assuming they're gonna debut Conley to team up with Spud. I don't know who the hell the third person is. This is my man. That'd be that's kind of a weird combination, but
it'd be interesting. We haven't seen him in a while.
No, we haven't. So that's interesting. My concern is we're gonna get
species,
Mm-hmm.
But my concern is we're gonna get the same matches over and over and over, because they said the once you're a team, that's your team. So that's a big concern. This sounds like something they could make special, but if it's another side act, it's just going to be another failure of the X division. All right. So Billy Corgan had said to Bobby Lashley that he was basically giving him the champion's advantage of selecting his own opponent that night, and he said choose wisely. And he had 3 potential opponents. So the first opponent talked tonight, and it was Moose. And this was weird because, again, I'm going to give you another story about being in the arena. Eddie Edwards spoke first in the arena. And that's why when JB said, here's another potential opponent for Lashley, he said another, but this was the first person speaking. So I don't know why they switched that. That was just kind of weird. But so Moose gave his spiel. And all 3 people spoke in a different part of the arena. AC3 was backstage. Eddie was by the crowd with Mackenzie. And then Moose was with JB in the walkway there. Next segment we get was Fact of Life. We talked about this a little bit. Offline, how it really felt like a 80s segment. Go ahead, Kyle.
And he's a much bigger joke than I'll ever be.
Sorry, what'd you say, BQ?
I was asking your thoughts about the Fact of Life. We were discussing online that it felt like an 80s wrestling segment, like a Piper's Pit or something.
Or it looked like it looked like an 80s segment.
Like a Tuesday Night Titans.
I love that new set. It's got that real, just 80s WWF pro wrestling vibe to it. Eli Drake, he's the host with the most. It's the critically acclaimed, Emmy-nominated talk show Fact of Life. And listeners, you got to get that dummy button. I got one. BQ got one. Will and Mike are going to get one soon.
Oh yeah.
Will, are you picking up on a story that they're telling with EC3 right now? I want to see if I'm the only one picking this up.
I am picking up on the story that they're so far brilliantly beginning to tell. Actually, I can't say beginning to tell. This has been a story that's been developing, in my opinion, probably for the last 6 weeks. We talked about it we've talked about it here and there, about him losing steam. And you just figure with the way Lashley was rolling that he wasn't going to win there either. So he went from being undefeated earlier this year to getting his first loss against Bennett to avenging his loss. And that was when people started saying, something's missing. He's losing steam. Now what you're going to see now, I don't think they're going to turn him, but you're going to see the redemption story. That's what this entire segment was about. This segment was really about 2 guys getting over, especially when EC3 had a chance to go in the back and say what he had to say. But initially, with the way that he went off on Eli Drake, I thought they were going to go ahead and have at it right there. I have a definite opinion about what Eli Drake has said. Do you want me to hold that comment and you proceed?
No, go ahead.
You listen to what Eli Drake has said. The fact that he referenced Micah, who is now, I believe it's his brother in New Japan, and is very successful over there. Eli Drake goes on to mention the hard time that he's had just to get where he's at. And that was probably one of the more intense spots that I've seen all year. Probably that you have to put in that 145-second window, and you don't need a lot of time to pull off a good promo. That was probably one of the top 5 promos of the year so far that we saw Eli Drake do. And EC3, after his rant, didn't have to say anything else. Eli took it and ran when he expressed his frustration, how he was brought in as one of 3 idiots. I like how he referred to the entire thing, and how he managed to break free. And going back to the past, you were handed everything, nothing. I was not brought in here. I was brought in here just to be a guy. You don't really hear that. And this example lends itself to what we've been talking about, BQ and Kyle and now Mike, all year long, about how TNA they do an excellent job of blurring reality and fiction. You don't know which is which sometimes. But he tapped into real. I do know he tapped into real emotion to say those things the way that he said, because in reality, he was supposed to be an afterthought.
Bobby Lashley will make you famous.
Man, I agree with what Will said about with the idiots, calling the rising idiots. That cracked me up. I think Eli Drake has come a long way since, he was in the developmental for OVW there. The guy gets to show his potential that he has. He's a tremendous athlete. So is EC3. I love the whole, I'm begging you to hit the button. I'm getting down on your knees just like your mother. And he just took it over the edge with that. I love the whole intensity behind it. And I look forward to seeing these guys get back in the ring again.
I really pop for him saying your dumbass show, your dirt beard, your bug ass eyes.
Mm-hmm.
So EC3 was really passionate, doing press the button so I can kick your ass. So there was a new angry side of EC3, and I think, Will viewed this the same way that I did. It's almost going to be a redemption story. But we've been talking about he's lost his edge a little bit, and I think they're telling the story that EC3 is in a slump. I think they're going to continue to tell that for a little while. And I think, people are saying, oh, EC3 should have won the title. Well, EC3 is not hot like that right now. He's just not. I mean, EC3 is always going to be EC3, but he's just not. We keep talking about he's lacking something right now. This wasn't time for him to hold the title. So the talking segment was great. Eli Drake does not skip a beat when he speaks. I mean, this guy is absolute money speaking. It's I think we're finally gonna get a feud between these guys, but like a real feud. We've seen them have a couple matches. Man, if we can get an actual feud from this, I think it's gonna be really, really good for both guys.
I'm begging on my knees like your mother.
What are you talking about?
You didn't catch that? EC3 says to Eli Drake, I'm on my knees like your mother.
Because he wanted him to press the button.
Yeah. He was like, hit it. I'm begging you. He's like, I'm begging you. I'm on my knees like your mother.
That's what
I did not catch
Eli
that.
Drake's face is priceless when he says that. Eli Drake's mannerisms, those two have so much chemistry together, the way they play off of each other. I'm interested in a feud between these guys. I mean, we've seen them in the ring before, but we never got a full feud, between the personalities. So I'm hyped. And you got a really good point there, BQ. They are telling a redemption story with EC3. EC3 is in a slump. Good analysis there. Good observation, because you definitely got something with that.
Hey, Kyle, she could be on her knees begging because she's praying.
3 things we pray.
Could be religious.
Good point.
Yeah,
She's
but I don't
Catholic.
think that's what he meant. I think he was bringing his edge back.
I dig it.
And you said something interesting, Will. They actually, about blurring the lines, and they actually flipped the script on this one, where Eli Drake was saying, hey, I'm the guy that scratching Claude. You were the one who was given your spot. We usually hear that the other way around. So this is just doing something a little bit different, and I think they're kind of looking for some character progression with EC3. I don't know if it's really a redemption thing, because we kind of had the redemption thing with Bennett. I just think it's going to be a character tweak. So this is going to be really interesting to keep an eye on. Kyle, You said you got the audio queued up from the Fight app from Team X Gold.
Yeah, before I was saying that the promo was confusing. Now, it's even more confusing than I thought. Let me turn the volume up here so all of our listeners and you guys can get a good listen to this. This is unless you got the Fight Network app. This is a reason to get it. You catch things like this. So, all right, this is a promo after the match. This is them, like, oh, yeah, we just kicked their asses. But listen to this.
TNA, the X Division has always innovated. The X Division has always revolutionized wrestling, and we're doing it once again with Team X Gold.
That's the thing. We need a name.
Yeah. I mean, we just won our first match as a team, but we don't have a name yet. We got to think of something. What are you thinking?
3 count.
There's
King of Trios? Is that
That's the thing. Yeah. Never back down like the movies. Let's take it.
Yeah.
All right, so he says Team X Gold. He introduces that, and then Braxton chimes in and says, we need a name. But do you get what I'm trying to say? DJZ states Team X Gold. Like, that's obviously the name. That's what they said the name was on the episode. But then Braxton goes, we need a name. Like, I'm confused. Could you guys hear that promo?
I think, we heard it really clear. I think Team X Gold is the sequence of matches. It's like the name of the segment, the name of the I can't think of the correct words I'm looking for, but I don't think it's representing a certain team.
Because there are none that you could say that would be correct. Because here's the thing that I'm lost. Here's the thing that's lost in all of this. When is your X Division champion going to defend the effing title in all of this?
It's very confusing. They should definitely have done a better job explaining it to us. We shouldn't be on the air guessing about it. So
that's why the first thing came to my mind is how are you going to have a title shot for the X Division title? How do you determine that?
That's a good point.
Poorly executed. They could have done a better job with the explanation.
Shout out to 3 count though. I bet you Helms was standing on the other side of the camera. He said that to Pop Helms real quick, saying 3 count.
Kyle, how much of a fan I am at 3 count.
I was just happy to get Marche Rocket on TV finally. And we got him in a heel like that as a heel.
Oh, he looks great in the ring, man. He looks excellent. He's a great wrestler. He has a future in the company.
Oh yeah, dude. And we get Maria backstage with Allie going off on her, opening her mouth at Bound for Glory when she was talking about that she was cleared to wrestle, and she's got Sienna and LVN is with her. LVN doesn't sound like she can talk real strong right now, but but they're doing the whole we're in our dresses, we're the snooty girls on the block type of thing. So they continue to berate Allie, and everyone's waiting for Allie to get in the ring, and it's let the story be told. I know we want it to happen quicker, but just let it happen. After that, we get Eddie with Mackenzie. He is begging Lashley to pick him. You might think I'm the easy choice, but I am begging you. You know that I can beat you. Next match is Gail Kim's title defense of the evening. And this is she's got a match with Sienna. Sienna said they're going to bring their title back. So it's kind of good because it seems like they're on the same page regarding the title. And before I turn this one to Kyle, Madison Rayne is now, I was at enough of the tapings where they're bringing her down now for commentary on every Knockouts match. So because I saw a couple of Knockouts matches on Explosion, I think she did it. Did she do it for Bound for Glory?
I don't think so. I think Impact right here was her first time doing it.
No, she did not.
Okay, well, she did the Explosion matches, and she came out for the Impact matches that I was there for. So I think that is going to be a thing where she's in the booth. So, Kyle, give me your thoughts on the match and not Mackenzie, but Madison Rayne on commentary.
Hi, Madison Rayne. Nice to meet you.
Well, I'm still confused about where they're going to go with the Knockouts title down the line. I'm still not sure who Gail's opponent is going to be because there's so many different directions they can go with this. Before in the previous podcast, I was saying things like, maybe she's going to retire at Bound for Glory. I think I said that multiple times, but no, that's not the case. Apparently she's got the belt. She's moving forward. Maria I don't know when we're going to finally see Maria really throw down in there. We haven't seen, all of her. And I really like where they are with the Knockouts division right now. There's just a lot of great talent in there. Some can even argue that the Knockouts division is miles ahead of the X division right now. And, you got Allie. And like you said before, BQ, I also saw a lot of people on Twitter complaining, saying, oh, she should be cherry bomb. She should just – people, TNA is going to do it. Just have faith in them. Enjoy the story. Sit back. No need to rush it. It's going to be great when it happens organically. But are we going to see Cherry Bomb versus Maria? I sure hope so. Of course, she's going to have to go through Sienna a couple of times. But, this is I don't know how long Gail Kim's going to hold the belt. I don't know where they're going to go with it, and I like that. TNA's got me on the edge of my seat, and I'm excited to see how this plays out.
I enjoyed the matchup. I like the whole interaction with Madison Rayne on commentary. I think maybe down the line we can get a Gail Kim, Madison Rayne, and Allie against a Maria, Sienna, and Laura Vaness. And I like the whole thing, guys. I like to see the slow transition from Allie to the face turn, maybe go to as Cherry Bomb, and then Allie against Maria. She's a tremendous talent, and I like the way that she's being used, and I look forward to seeing what comes next.
Well, what can you say about Madison Rayne?
Hi.
Yep.
Madison Rayne. So
Hi.
she really can't do too much wrong.
Hi.
Kyle, I believe you said that you can probably argue that the Knockouts division is miles ahead of the X division. Try kilometers ahead.
Yeah, a good call.
Which makes it even further. And so, one thing I would say, wasn't that a great slap that Maria? And I love watching Westerns. You always seeing someone get slapped and backhand slapped. Boy, Maria got a pretty good B-slap, doesn't she?
Yeah, she sure does. This wasn't a super strong match. It wasn't a long match. I would love to see Sienna and Gail Kim really go at it, but when she won with the quick roll-up, it was pretty obvious at that point. This match was more about progressing the story than actually giving us an actual match to get into. I thought Madison, when she was speaking, I couldn't hear her.
Hi.
And I hope they fix that audio.
Hi.
She obviously doesn't. Her voice doesn't carry, so hopefully that's something they can fix. She sounded a little green to me, doing the commentary thing, but that's not something you just step in the booth and pick up. So Mike brought something to my attention here, and I think he kind of hit it on the head as far as maybe Allie teaming up with Madison and Gail. We know that Madison is part of the creative team. She's now inserted herself into a role that she's going to be there for all the Knockouts matches. I wouldn't be surprised if, because she doesn't have a prominent wrestling role right now. Like maybe they enlist her to coach and train Allie. Who better to do it as far as, the longest tenured girl on the roster? It makes sense to me. I don't know. Just, I hate to fantasy book too much, but I could see them go in that direction.
Well, it makes sense to me also.
And as you pointed out, she does have a hell of a B slap. She wanted Allie to slap her. Allie wouldn't do it, pushed her down.
I want you to lay down.
And so she lays her out. Kyle, you asked when Maria's really going to go at it. All I'm going to say about next week's match, because it's not a spoiler, they let us know they have a DQ match next week. This match is a lot better than their Bound for Glory match. I'm just going to put that out there.
Good to hear.
All right, so it's not when you think, oh my God, here comes a DQ match with a girl who can't wrestle. We're all thinking the same thing. It's not that. It's a good match. Then they're backstage with EC3, and he's talking about why he should face Lashley, which I'm glad it wasn't him because we just saw it the night before. After this, we get the Wolf Creek cage match. So
talk about product placement.
This was it was like a cheap plug for the show, and at first I was really intrigued by Wolf Creek Cage. I thought it was another spoiler free segment, a backstage thing, because again, this was not at the taping I went to. That's why you see the crowd a little bit bigger for this one too. So I good match. I mean, they had chainsaws. You know, it was basically a lethal lockdown match. And I mentioned earlier the last WWE pay-per-view I watched before I just hung it up was Extreme Rules. And they had that Ambrose Asylum match, which was horrendous. It was kind of a knockoff of the Lethal Lockdown. And they had a couple weapons in there. They had the chainsaw, and they never went for it. Instead, he went for the potted plant. You know, so I don't know if this was almost like a they did this on purpose, because there were chainsaws in this one, and they went for the chainsaws too.
No. He went for the chainsaw, and he got attacked. It got knocked out of his hand. Matt grabbed the chainsaw. Matt grabbed it, and then Crazy Steve knocked it out of his hand, and then you never heard of the chainsaw again.
Right, but I was saying in the Asylum match, they never touched the chainsaw.
Okay, I misunderstood. I thought you were talking about this match here.
But this time they actually went for it.
Yeah.
We at least as an audience, as a viewer, want, because it makes sense, we want to at least see them go for the weapon, even if it doesn't get used or they fail. So, what were your thoughts on the match, Mike?
I enjoyed the hell out of it at the end. I actually had to rewatch it online because we had a little technical difficulties on that, on the cable side. But yeah, I watched the end of it. I liked the whole, Abyss getting a handcuff to the cage. Rebby coming out with, I'm having a little brain fart. What was the weapon that she hit Abyss with and she brought out after?
The rabbit head
Thank
staff.
you. Thank you, Will. Yeah, I love that. I love her getting at Rosemary after she missed it, Brother Nero. And, I mean, the whole match was great. I mean, this is the feud right here. I love this feud. I love the match at Bound for Glory. I mean, just these guys have been killing it ever since the start of the feud. And, yeah, just great match. And I love all competitors in it.
I thought the match, after the Great War, what else do they have to give? That was my question, and going into it, and they delivered a very entertaining match. I never thought I would see a staple gun brought into a wrestling match.
I mean, they did it at Bound for Glory with that, but this was just used differently. This time with Jeff getting his revenge on Abyss.
Well, yeah, but he stapled his butt.
Yeah, I know, and then he went for the crotch.
Yeah. I've heard of someone getting nailed before, but this puts a new meaning. This gives it a new meaning. It was a good match. BQ, you covered some of the different spots that was in it. The entire thing was entertaining with the weapons, rabbit head staff, mist, staple guns. My thing is, you had the Bound for Glory. You had the good match there. You had one here. We don't need to see this again. So let it rest before put it to rest before you overdo it.
While you guys talk about product placement, I gotta say, I think the Wolf's Creek cage match sounds better than the Schitt's Creek cage match. That could be something completely different that we don't need to talk about on the podcast. But
Hey Kyle, just for a sec. The Wolf's Creek's cage match might be better than the show.
I wouldn't doubt that. I've tried to watch some of the Pop TV original programming, not my cup of tea.
Are you done?
I didn't mind Schitt's Creek.
I honestly watched like the first episode and said I didn't give it a fair viewing. So I'm not going to bash Schitt's Creek because the name sounds funny, Schitt's Creek. That sounds like such an interesting television program. But so we get to the match here. You mentioned cable issues, Mike. I guess that wasn't just you because me and Will texted each other too. Something happened in this match. I don't know if it was TNA's fault or if it was the cable network's fault, but we didn't see the end of the match on television. At least some of us didn't. I don't know. Maybe the listeners can leave their feedback in the comment section. Did you see this match in your entirety? Because apparently me, Mike, and Will didn't. BQ, did you rewatch the show even though you were there?
No, I wasn't there for that match. That match actually took up place on a different taping. But
that's right.
Matt Hardy did tweet the YouTube link out, and he said if you did not see the end of this match. So I think it was a pretty consistent thing throughout everyone's cable program. And here's the really funny thing is I was just getting ready to eat dinner. I paused it at that exact moment that it froze. I mean, on the button.
Wow.
I remember it showed Rebby, and I hit pause and I went and ate, and I came back and I hit play, and I'm like, I'm yelling at my fiance. I'm like, the TV's not working. The play button isn't working. I'm sitting here very frustrated. I fast forwarded. All of a sudden it was at a completely different angle, and then I rewound it, and then I saw what happened, and I was like, damn, that's a 1 in a million thing. I mean, I hit pause the exact time it happened. Maybe I did something to the network.
This is Gail Kim's fault.
That's all I can think.
All angry tweets to KOTM or whatever the rest of it is.
Damn you.
Pay all this money for the fucking cable bill. They can't give me my goddamn show.
Did you guys find it funny that Jeff was wearing his normal Jeff Hardy outfit and he wasn't Brother Nero?
I didn't notice.
Yeah, I noticed, but, I get it, but whatever. Yeah, I was fine with it. I mean, I don't mind him either wearing the Jeff Hardy outfit, the Brother Nero outfit. It's fine with me. Whatever.
I like how Rebby's playing the piano in the entrance. I thought that was going to be like a special Bound for Glory thing, but I guess they're going with it, and moving forward, Rebby's going to be playing the piano as part of their entrance, and I think that's really cool. I think she's great on the piano.
That was a great entrance.
That piano is a Yamaha Baby Grand. Those are not cheap. And people say TNA that they're having money issues.
I know. Where the hell did they get that piano from? So after this, we get Cody Rhodes' in-ring, not his in-ring debut, but his Impact Wrestling debut. It was a promo. I put this promo up there with the Aaron Rex promo when he came, because he took his shots. He had said my previous employer, where I'd left on my own, and then also made it a point to say my wife Brandy Rhodes, and killer segment. Kyle, what'd you think about Cody?
Well, great promo there, and what I like about this is, as a viewer, it kind of annoys me when somebody walks in from another company and instantly gets a title shot because they're from that company. And you see it's a consistent thing that you see in wrestling, and I get it, but I like how when Bennett's interacting with Cody, Bennett's acknowledging that, and he's pissed about it, and that's just adds to the story right there. I like how, I'm thinking in my head, it kind of bothers me that he gets a shot, just for being Cody. He's got to earn his keep in the Impact Zone. But, Bennett, when they're clashing, acknowledges that. And I thought that was really cool. I'm a fan of Cody's. I can't wait to see what he's going to do here in Impact Wrestling. That promo was one of the best I've ever heard, Yeah, I'm excited to see what they do with Cody Rhodes. To my understanding, he's only doing a little angle right here, but apparently the door is open down the road. So I hope he eventually signs a deal, and I think as Impact fans, we can all agree here on the show that we would love to have him part of our roster.
Yeah, I think he was around for the first 2 nights of taping, so that probably equates to about 3 or 4 episodes of Impact. So even though he's already done, I saw his first match. I think he had several matches, so I don't want people to think, oh, he was there for a couple of days, he didn't do shit. A taping of Impact, for those so you guys can understand, you go to a taping, it's a 3-hour show for a 2-hour Impact, so they basically tape an hour and a half. A show and a half of Impact. So it's like I've seen half of next week's, but that's it.
I like the promo. I would put it up there with the Aaron Rex, like you guys stated. I look forward to seeing a Cody and Brandy against the Miracle Mike Bennett and Maria feud, matchup, what have you. I mean, these guys have wrestled on a Northeast Wrestling card out here in New York, and I mean, if that's any indication of what we're going to get, I look forward to seeing them wrestle each other and any other, opponents that we're going to see very soon from Cody Rhodes. And I mean, I think he's a great asset to TNA, and I look forward to seeing where both him and Brandy go from here.
I'll follow in tow and say that if you're going to make a debut for a new promotion, they ought to make every new person watch the Aaron Rex, Cody, and I'm going to call him Rhodes, promo. That is how you make a splash with the new company. I like the fact that they brought out the list that we've heard about. Interested to see Bennett and Cody get in there, mix it up. Going to be interesting rest of the year. pretty much sums my thought. I don't want to see a tag match, mixed tag match, because, well, Maria's not very good in the ring.
Excuse me? I can't believe it.
I think I'd rather watch my laundry dry.
Hello, Maria?
Like I told you guys, the match next week is a lot better than Bound for Glory's. I think you'll give her the benefit of the doubt a little bit.
I got to see it first. Normally I believe you, but I don't this time.
I am going to give this as a kind of spoiler, just because I just want the listeners to be excited about this match next week. It is a one-on-one match. It is not, when they say no DQ, that does not mean there's outside of interference. I'm just going to put that out right now. It is one-on-one. So after this, we get Maria trying to go talk to Billy. Aiden O'Shea is out there. Calls her toots a couple times, which if you don't follow Aiden O'Shea on Twitter, he's absolutely hilarious. He's toots to all the females. He's mutt to all the guys. It's a lot of fun. So, and he had told her, you will get your no DQ match next week, but if you lose, you're no longer the leader of the Knockouts. So at least we're getting, at least they're addressing that once again. It's a little confusing because they keep going back and forth. Like when you're the champion, you can't be the leader. And now it's like, she's not the champ, she's the leader again. I mean, it's just a lot of back and forth. The story was cool for a little while. Now it's time to move on from it. After this, we get Aaron Rex's title defense of the evening. And he defends the championship against Baron Dax. And what I liked about this is that it gave us a feel now that anybody can challenge for this title, because we got half of the tribunal, wrestling. It wasn't like, hey, it's just going to be a mid-card thing. Now, we start factoring some tag team wrestlers in, a couple X Division guys or whatever. So it almost makes it seem like this title is up for grabs for everybody. So, that's kind of what I enjoyed about it. Baron Dax controlled this entire match, and Rex gets the tap out victory at the end. The tap out was sloppy. He had gone for that move several times against Eddie Edwards at Bound for Glory. It was kind of like a Texas Cloverleaf variation. They gave us the name. I didn't write it down, and I don't remember it.
The Royal Arch.
Okay, Royal Arch. Thanks, appreciate that. So again, Baron controlled the entire match. Rex ended up getting the tap out victory, and we keep talking about how the match is going to be delivered different every week, and this was a different way of doing it. So,
I'm getting used to this Grand Championship thing. A little iffy about it at times. At first, I was really enthusiastic about it, and I don't think I'm judging the match type as much as something about Aaron Rex. I don't know what it is, but something's just not clicking for me. When he first came in, that first promo was great, but I don't know. For some reason, I'm just not really enjoying his run in the match. I mean, Baron Dax, hell of a talent, but he didn't really see it. It was just kind of a giveaway that he was going to lose. I don't know. I am just right now, I'm not really feeling the Grand Championship thing or Aaron Rex, but I hope that they can change my mind and make me a fan moving forward.
With Baron Dax, I know you have to have, if you're going to have on top guys, you have to have underneath guys. And unfortunately, I'm afraid that Baron Dax just may forever be an underneath guy. I didn't realize, I knew he could work, but I didn't realize how well he could work if given an opportunity. And I saw it last night, and I hope they find something meaningful for him, meaningful for the tribunal period. For this format to work, you have to have guys make it appear as if certain guys have a chance to actually win. That first round, I'm thinking to myself, we could see a title change. And then you had Rex land the Royal Flush. Yeah, I know it's the Royal Arch, whatever. It's an old move he used in WWE. So I knew what it is, but there's they need to make a character tweak to Aaron Rex's character. It's something that has already gone stale. That's the best way I can put it. The tire is going a little flat. The bread is turned stale. We need to do something else.
Yeah, I thought the match was kind of bland, like you guys both said there. You know what? I think Aaron Rex, he definitely needs something to spice his character up. I liked the submission maneuver. I thought Baron Dax looked good. I thought the Tribunal were very underutilized for their previous employer, where they were the Legionnaires, and I enjoyed that gimmick. But yeah, I thought it was kind of bland. It was okay. It wasn't my favorite match, but yeah, you kind of knew at the start of it that Aaron Rex was going to go over.
When they deliver these Grand Championship matches incorrectly, it takes the crowd out of it. A good one is a good match, but when it's not done well, it can be boring. And I thought the Bound for Glory match was really boring, which sucks because I love both those wrestlers. I just didn't think it was good. I thought the rounds were too long. People keep saying, oh, we want 5-minute rounds. Well, I don't think you want 5-minute rounds now. I was saying on my review, people were saying nine minutes is too short for a match. Most matches are 8 or 9 minutes. It's not a we don't. Yeah, I think there's a notion that all matches last like 15 or 20 minutes. That's not the case. Matches are pretty quick for the most part. As far as Aaron Rex, I think you guys are going to see it in the future here. They're working on changing his character up a little bit, just like they're doing with EC3, because I think they see it. It's been bland. I think he wanted to be a more serious character, which I can understand. He's never, I don't want to say never, but maybe when he was like Idol Stevens before that, he's never been able to be a guy who could just go in the ring and compete. It was always a joke. He just couldn't wrestle, and now he gets to wrestle. So I think he is focused on that side of things a little bit too much, and that's why it might be coming off a little dry and a little boring. I do like that they do the post. At least I like it now. The post match interview, just like they do in UFC. So it's only a match. You know, people are saying, "Oh, TNA is trying to be like UFC." Like it's just one match. It's just one style match, and I have no issues with it. After this, we get the main event.
Wonderful.
Bobby Lashley has had time to think about it and has decided that the easiest possible opponent would be Eddie Edwards. I'm going to speak last on this one to not try to push my opinion down anyone's throat, because I was there for this, loved it. I was really disappointed by the social media reaction on Eddie Edwards winning. I think he's one of the most popular wrestlers on the roster. I don't really understand. Everyone can have their own opinion. I'm not saying everyone has to like it by any means. I'm just really surprised at the reaction about, Lashley and the belt losing credibility and Eddie being a jobber. I don't know. I'm going to speak last on this. Will, I want to hear.
You may as well just continue. You're doing a great job.
No. I I want to hear you guys first, and I'll pick up the pieces from there. I want to hear what you got, Will.
Well, first thing, when you have a move like the Boston Knee Party, and we talked about before in previous broadcasts, that you always have a chance. So Lashley dominated. Eddie had his moments. I like the top rope Frankensteiner. That was a Hurricane Rana, whatever you want to call it. That was nice and good action. The thing about it is you alluded to the fact that most matches only go about 8, 9, 10 minutes on average. That's very true. I'm watching the clock. Now I'm on Central Time. It was 8:51 and like 40 seconds when the match actually began. So we're talking about a title match that lasted about 8 minutes. Really, technically, less than that. So you had a good match. They got the stuff in. Lashley, I'm thinking he's going to win. He goes for that spear, and it was teased the last time these two had their matchup. Eddie tried to get that move the last time, didn't get it. This time he lands it, gets the victory. And Lashley sold it like a champ. The way he was just out of it afterwards was perfect. I would have wanted to have seen the backstage celebration. We didn't get one, and that's unfortunate. But they cut it off. But that was a surprise. I don't think in this case the title lost any credibility. But what I don't like is you pay for a pay-per-view and then you see the title change the next broadcast. That's just a personal pet peeve of mine. And so the way I'm going to equate this to when Lesnar had the WWE title. You built Lashley up to be this unbeatable person. You have to find some way to get the title off of him without damaging that persona. The way they did it with that surprise finisher that Eddie, well, I won't call it surprise finisher, but with that finisher, that's the only way you could have done it to save face for Lashley. Now, with that being said, Eddie has the belt. There's quite a few stories you can spin out of this, but you have to be very careful. Now, with the Team X Division Gold, the whole thing with Maria and back and forth being the leader and this and that and the other, I can just hope and pray that they get this one right. But Eddie's the champion. Congratulations. He deserves it. I just hope that they tell a wonderful story, or else you could really set the company back and waste what's been a wonderful 2016 from a storytelling standpoint.
Man, I enjoyed the matchup. I mean, that spot with the suicide dive and he went face first into the guardrail, man. I mean, these guys always kill it when they get in the ring. I'm a big fan of Lashley, big fan of Eddie Edwards. Like the fact that he got the championship. And like BQ, like you were saying, some people crap on it. You know, it is what it is. I mean, they crapped on Eric Young winning the belt a couple of years back. They crapped on Chris Sabin winning the belt a couple of years back. But, you know, these guys are hell of an athletes. They work hard. And Eddie Edwards is one of those guys that works hard, from his Ring of Honor run to his TNA run. Guy, it's well-deserved. And I look to see where we go with Eddie Edwards as the TNA World Heavyweight Champion.
You know, I see a lot of people complaining about it online, and I need to say, all right, at first, I wasn't too thrilled with it. I get a lot of the criticism, but then I found out that they had to take the belt off Lashley because Lashley is going to do a fight in Bellator, and he just needs to step away for a little bit. So that being said, all right, I get it. They need to take the belt off of him. Maybe they could have given it to EC3 at Bound for Glory if it was going to change hands. But then again, they're telling a story with EC3, so it wouldn't make sense for them as a company to throw the belt on him. Eddie Edwards, they've slowly built him up. Like, you guys recall months ago, Josh Matthews put up like a random blog post about how he thinks Eddie Edwards should be champion. You guys remember that?
Yep.
So slowly but surely, I mean, he's had chances. He did lose, but they were always telling a little story in the background there, and then they take it away, and then when you least expect it, it happens, and it shocked me. I didn't see it coming at all. I think Eddie Edwards is a hell of a talent. He's great, but what excites me more than his actual winning of the title is how's Davey going to react when he comes back to Impact? Is he still going to stand by his friend, or is he going to catch feelings about it that, you know, basically Eddie got fat while Davey starved, healing up and whatnot? And when he returns, is he still going to be friends with Eddie, or are we going to see the Wolves go against each other?
I think it's a safe bet that Eddie drops the belt in this set of tapings, which TNA is going to get a huge backlash for quick title changes.
You
but
think
again,
so?
It's possible. If the tapings are supposed to go through November, then maybe not. But if they're supposed to go through the rest of the year, it's possible. But they also have the Hurricane. I think they did cut down a night of tapings. I know Sunday they're doing 2. So I think the tapings are only supposed to go through November. So there's a good chance he holds on to the title. There has been a story told from the very beginning, and that was that Lashley was most likely going to lose the title to someone he underestimated, someone that it was going to happen when he took his eye off the prize. It was going to happen when he was not focused and did not respect the person on the other side of the ring. It wasn't about DJZ saying, hey, one of these days someone from the X Division is going to beat you. That's not what it was about. It was about a bully who we're supposed to be cheering against, not for. A bully eventually slipping, taking his eye off the prize, getting overconfident, like I'm saying, and losing the match. There has to be a degree in professional wrestling of anyone can win on any given night. We have to have that to a certain degree. It's Lashley beat Lashley. This Eddie Edwards did not beat Lashley. Lashley beat Lashley. That's the story that has been told from the very beginning here. And Eddie was just the person who had his moment. They've been also telling the story with Eddie Edwards this entire time, that in his transition from a tag team to a single wrestler, that he's been just a pubic hair away from winning the big one, or winning the title, or winning a big match. There's been screw job finishes, like when he grabbed the X Division title and then Trevor Lee ran and stole it from him. When Bennett got that win over him. Now, I understand they probably shouldn't have had him lose clean to DJZ. We probably could have done without that one. But in the Grand Championship matches, he had the best match with Galloway. And then he had the match with Rex. He didn't lose by pinfall or submission in either match. So we have talked about Eddie has not won a whole lot this year, but he has been booked strong. He has been booked to be a big deal. He has been booked to be a borderline main eventer. And as I said, to a certain degree, you have to have a feeling that anyone can win on any given night. You have to have that in wrestling if you want to make it entertaining. Or we can sit here and have the same 3 or 4 people in the main event every single week. We can be WWE. We can have it just reigns. It's Cena. We can do that. If that's what everyone wants, that's what you want. Okay? And again, if someone doesn't like this, that's fine. I'm just passionate about my opinion. I'm not trying to talk down or anything like that to anybody. I'm just passionate about my opinion. For every unbeatable champion, you got to have a beatable champion every once in a while. It just makes things interesting. There was a shock factor. So many things in pro wrestling these days are unpredictable. People say we don't want predictable. Well, this wasn't predictable. You know, they gave us something different. And I mean, God, live in the arena, like when I saw the referee's hand hit 3, I jumped up right away and had my hands on my head, like when the Undertaker lost at Mania and everyone's like flickering. I couldn't believe what I just saw. And there was a post-match celebration with the X Division. A couple tag team wrestlers came out. I wish that was on TV, because it would have made it so much more special and important than Eddie Edwards is the new champion. Stand by for Wolf's Creek. I mean, that was painful for me to watch that online.
I'm sure we'll see it next week. I'm sure they'll play a little tidbit somewhere in there, of the celebration. I'd be surprised if they didn't.
Don't bet on it. BQ, I want to say this because what you talked about, how people complain about predictability when you are predictable. Like we know in WWE, there's going to be 50-50 booking. That's been the thing this year. 50-50 booking. We hate it. Okay, what you don't want to see with the world title or any title, you don't want to have the Hulk Hogan factor. And that being where I'm talking about the time from 84 to 88 when he didn't lose. You don't want that. And plus, with someone of Lashley's pedigree, the only way, unless you are a trained martial artist, that you're going to have a legitimate chance of pinning that dude's shoulders for 3 seconds or even 2 seconds would be to have a surprise finisher. And we talked about that, the Aaron Rex move, the Revelator. We talked about how, okay, that's surprising. The Diamond Cutter, the RKO. You need moves like that. The Boston Knee Party is the perfect move. My thing is, you've gone to this well once with the X Division. They didn't do right by him then with that title. So now you have your most prestigious title on Eddie Edwards. You have to do the right thing now. So Lashley goes away. He'll come back after Bellator, after he heals. Hopefully he probably wins it convincing quite easily. Takes a little break, comes back. We probably see him see him on air in December, hopefully. And you tell the story. But my thing is now, well, they've already tipped their hand to what's going to happen. Did you notice when he called out Eddie Edwards' name as the challenger, that Eddie turned to EC3. EC3 nods his head, and then he goes. That's the story that they are getting ready to tip. They're already tipped their hand to where the next feud is going to come. So not really fantasy booking, just reading tea leaves, just Hansel and Gretel, just following the breadcrumbs. There's the story right there.
You know, to me, the world title is a pretty legit title for TNA. Mike brought up, Eric Young, Chris Sabin. But for the most part, and those are still super talented guys, for the most part, the lineage of this title is pretty prestigious. If you want to take it back to the NWA title, with Shamrock and RVD, and now you're talking about the Stings and the Angles.
Jarrett.
I mean, who is that?
Jeff Jarrett.
Yeah, Jarrett. I mean, we could go on and on. Bully Ray. There's a lineage to this title. Because Eddie Edwards won a match, it didn't, to me, I don't feel that the title's devalued. I don't think Lashley's been devalued. I don't think he's been, people say that he, this loss hurt Lashley so much. So you're going to tell me when Impact comes on next week and you see Bobby Lashley's face that you're going to say, that guy's not a main eventer anymore because he lost to Eddie Edwards? Do you think that Impact is not going to book Lashley to be a main eventer anymore? So when you say, well, he lost his, Lashley lost his, what's the word I'm looking for?
David beat Goliath.
Yeah, right. That's the story.
That's the story. So unlike the biblical story where Goliath gets his head cut off in the end and carried off back home with David, this giant gets to go ahead and confront the little engine that could. So there's that whole thing. Okay, you got lucky, real lucky. Can you do it again? I want my. I'm invoking my rematch clause, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But there are going to be so many other stories that you can tell just to fight to see who's going to be first. Because I don't know what's going to come next. The thing about Davey coming back, we talked about this when we saw Davey make the surprise appearance. All three of us, Kyle, BQ, myself, we all mentioned that we were waiting to see Davey turn on him. It didn't happen. Do you all remember that?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
It didn't happen then. Well, you could have it happen now, but what sense does that make when you have a weak tag division?
Right.
So I'm going to go on the record. So if I'm wrong, people on YouTube and Podbean and Twitter, you can say, hey, Will got it wrong. I'm going to say that probably won't happen, but there's a plethora of stories that you can tell. Bennett is busy right now, so he's busy with Cody, EC3, Moose, all three of those guys that were there waiting to be chosen. Why not just have a three-way dance? That might be one of the first matches.
Keep in mind, Will, the namer of dummies is bound for gold. You always got to keep that in mind from now on.
I was saving that point. I was getting there, Kyle. As the man in the stall stood, said to the man outside waiting, just give me time. I was getting there. but you could transition to Eli Drake. That's a possibility. I don't think they're going to do that just yet, though.
Eli Drake's not ready for it yet.
Not yet.
Now,
keep your eye on him.
Eddie has lost some matches. We've said that, but he hasn't been booked to be weak necessarily. Eli Drake has lost to Grado. He's lost to damn near everybody. Okay. One problem I had with the boss.
He lost to Mike a couple weeks ago.
To who?
He lost to Michael. He lost to Mike Larkin a couple weeks ago.
They hit him with the old Lark drop 1, 2, 3.
There we go. One issue I have though was that Shira did kick out of the Boston Knee Party in the Grand Championship match. Unless it was a Shining Wizard and it was just couldn't tell the difference. But I thought he kicked out of the Boston Knee Party. So that's one issue I do have. If they didn't totally protect the move, but as Will said, it's an out of nowhere move. If TNA doesn't devalue the title and doesn't devalue Lashley, then there's no reason we should either. If we turn on Impact next week and the title's still important and Lashley is still important, then there's nothing to worry about. I just didn't now. Okay, on the other side, if this match were pre-announced, like, hey, next week is Eddie Edwards versus Lashley, and Eddie beat him, that's a little bit different because Lashley hypothetically can prepare for this match. This was a match he was unprepared for, and he walked into cocky and confident, and he picked his own opponent, said, okay, let's do this right now. So it would have just been different to me if the match was announced like a week ago and there was an actual build to it. I don't think EC3 needed the win at Bound for Glory because EC3 is not as hot right now as he's been in the past. Instead of people talking about what Eddie Edwards gained by winning, they're talking about what Lashley lost by losing. Lashley is not Bray Wyatt now because he lost the match. Everyone is entitled to their opinion, and someone brought up to me yesterday, that I talk down to people on the podcast with my opinion, and I'm taking it as constructive criticism, but I don't. I'm not trying to talk down to anybody right now. I'm passionate about what I think, and that's it. It's like in high school when you had the persuasive essay or had to get up in front of the class and do the persuasive speech. That's all it is. I'm just speaking my opinion, but to me, it's exciting. I'm happy Eddie's the champion. We need someone else into that title picture right now. And, as Will said, they have to do him right with this title, because then we're in trouble. If they treat him with this title like they did with the X Division, then we're in trouble. But let's let the story be told.
Well, and they told a great one. The bully gets brought down a notch. And without that, what will happen? You have to find some way to you have to find some way to save face. He had to lose one of these years. Sooner or later it was going to happen. And he's on a roll right now. You don't think that if he goes into Bellator and he comes out and he wins that, especially if he does it in a convincing fashion, do you know what you can do with that creatively from a pro wrestling perspective? You can do lots then, because now you can say, hey, I lost, I refocused, I kicked butt in Bellator. Now I'm coming back for that. I'm going for two titles, one in Bellator, one here. You could do a lot with that. So people on Twitter can accuse me of talking down to people. Eddie Edwards he won, but where would wrestling be without the Daniel Bryans, the Eddie Edwards being world champion? And I'm naming all world champions: the Daniel Bryans, the CM Punks, the Shawn Michaels, the first reign, guys who weren't supposed to win. Even going back to the 80s with Bob Backlund, because 70s actually with him, because he was someone who had the All-American boy thing going, but wasn't really supposed to have the belt that long. Where would wrestling be without those type of people?
What about when Bret Hart beat Ric Flair for the title?
I was going to mention Bret Hart. I figured I'd save it for you or Mike, because I figured one of you guys would mention Bret Hart. That's why I left that one out.
Well, yeah, Bret and Rick and old Saskatoon and Bret's original reign with the title. I mean, yeah, Bret's another one of those guys. I mean, even if you want to mention Chris Benoit.
Eddie, I'm sorry.
No, I was just going to say Chris Benoit, Eddie Guerrero. I mean, those guys.
That's what I was going to say. Eddie Guerrero beat Brock Lesnar.
Yeah, but keep this in mind. Chris Benoit, which is a name a lot of people who watch the Connecticut outfit don't even want to mention. That title reign, WCW tried their best to make him seem insignificant, and the way the fans are reacting on social media is the exact same way almost 20 years ago that WCW people reacted. The way that WCW the company reacted after they said, "Okay, Benoit, we're gonna make you the champion." That's how they're treating it. Do you guys agree?
Oh yeah.
As I said before, some people, if they had to be executed via hanging, they wouldn't be happy if you hung them with a new rope. And that's how people are acting about Eddie Edwards winning. It is a good thing. It's not like you got some bum. I will admit that thinking back to the ROH days, that I never thought I would see on this grander stage him being a world champion. But just because I couldn't imagine it back then doesn't mean that he is any less deserving, because he is deserving of it.
So I'm going to point out on Twitter, it's disappointing that Ring of Honor, if someone from WWE who was previously Ring of Honor wins a title, they make a big deal about it on Twitter, on the Ring of Honor Twitter. But then Eddie Edwards wins a title, and there's nothing. So it's kind of unfortunate.
It's the entire WWE bias. And, you know, I'm glad that Mike invited us on his podcast and doing the TNA Hillcast, because, well, just talking anything outside of TNA, because it shows that, hey, at KOTM, we actually do watch other products. BQ, I know you, as you mentioned earlier, you fired the network, but this is why, because there's a point for there's a point of comparison. And so what you just brought up is what ticks me off, is that anytime someone from TNA does something, if they were with a previous organization, is either a complaint about the company or a complaint about the person. So if this had happened and Eddie Edwards, matter of fact, I won't even go that far. When Samoa Joe won the NXT title, what was the public consensus? What was the general consensus when he had won the NXT title? The NXT title, not the world title, but what was the general consensus?
I saw all positive.
Yeah, it was a lot of positive.
Okay, when Tyler Black, because there's people saying that the Seth Rollins we see is wrestling more like Tyler Black. When he won, everyone was happy. Daniel Bryan won. We know how everyone felt about that. Now, my point is, we had Samoa Joe in TNA. Unfortunately, he's not with us anymore. But if you had Daniel Bryan or Seth Rollins, had they won the TNA title, the response would have been the same as if Eddie Edwards would have won it. It would have been the exact same thing. It's because people do not want to give something new a chance, and that's a shame that after 12 years of being in, however many years TNA been in business, been watching for so long, but whenever they go against the WWE mold, there is a complaint, because we know that Vince would never have put the title on Eddie Edwards. Never. He could have been, if he was dead and gone, his specter would have come back to haunt whomever for just even remotely thinking about doing something like that. And the times that they did put titles on Eddie Guerrero or Daniel Bryan or CM Punk, they didn't want to do it then. They did it because they felt they had to, or else lose fans. The casual ones that watch wrestling every now and then but don't love it like us. So let Eddie have his run, however long it lasts, which we don't know. Billy Corgan, you don't know what he may do. But let's enjoy the storytelling. We're not back there in the writers' meetings. TNA doesn't have 30 writers on staff, thank the Lord. So let's just watch and enjoy. When you go watch a movie or you watch a TV series, it's not like you go and actually stand up in the theater and boo. So don't do it. If you go see Les Miserables, you're not going to boo at the ending. Or see Miss Saigon, you're not going to stand up and start throwing crap and booing and talking crap on Twitter. You look like a freaking idiot. Have some class about things.
And you're definitely not going to boo in the middle of it. And that's essentially what's
prices.
Going on. But that's essentially what's going on, because we don't know what the end game is here. It's a evolving, wrestling's an evolving story that never ends. We don't know where they're going with this, so we can't. I can't even count on one hand many times that TNA's disappointed me this year. There's been storylines that I didn't understand at first, and there was a payoff to it.
And there's been storylines that just really, like, there was a lot of inconsistencies. We pointed out 2 of those earlier.
Bram getting kidnapped.
Bram, Senor Benjamin. Okay, there's 4 we've mentioned. Okay, it's not perfect, but Is it because but why is that? Is it because he's a little guy? Is it because he's not this 6'6", 270-pound MMA fighter? Is it because he doesn't have the physique or the height of an EC3? Is it because he doesn't have the bulk and gut of a Bully Ray?
Right. I mean, it's something different. I always put over some things that are different, things that we don't see coming. It's you guys I've been talking a lot about it, and so has Will. Kyle, you've been quiet for a little bit.
I think we got pissed off.
You guys just really went that far, so I really got nothing to say about it. You guys kind of just put it all out there. You did a great job, though. That was a good exchange right there.
I think for
covered all bases.
I'm sorry, Cal. I didn't want you to. I didn't want you to feel like you were in the audience.
No, I was enjoying the conversation. I was actually, I was being a listener right there.
You got anything else, Mike, on the world title and what we've been saying?
I think you guys pretty much summed it up. And I mean, if you want to look at also, you guys are talking about, what Vince did with, guys like Benoit, Guerrero not want to put the belt. I mean, if you want to go back to 2006, you look at Rey Mysterio's horrible world title run. But yeah, I think you guys pretty much nailed it on the head.
It's not like, I can understand if someone said, hey, a title is not legitimate because you're talking about the Rey Mysterio run. Like, he was one of the first champions to lose a string of non-title matches.
Yeah, he lost to Khali, Mark Henry, Kane, and then he beats JBL, and then he loses at the pay-per-view to King Booker because, they want him and Chavo Guerrero back together. But yeah, Ray had a string of losses going into those title defenses.
And you know what, Mike? You don't have to go that far back to have to illustrate a very weak, nondescript title reign. We just saw one. Dean Ambrose.
Yep. That's true, too. I mean, Dean cashes in. I mean, he has that match with Dolph Ziggler at SummerSlam, which was what it was. And then him and AJ Styles had a great match, but you knew it was time to put the belt on AJ because he was over. He's getting over with the people. And that his run, Dean Ambrose run, was just running stale. And, now they're doing their thing with Styles, Cena, and Ambrose in the mix. So.
And the point being, gentlemen, is that they did not want to put the belt on Ambrose. They had to go to him. There was no other choice.
Yep.
Right, and now that then once he had it, people wanted it off him. So
very fickle.
So it's not like Eddie is going out there and losing a string of non-title matches. I remember that Mysterio one. I was in Iraq at the time, and I remember someone used to send us tapes, and we'd watch, well after the broadcast, and I was like, "This is the worst world title run I've ever seen."
And you wanted the tapes back, didn't you?
Yeah, yeah. But he's not losing a string of non-title matches. He's not. I mean, we haven't even had one episode yet, so we just got to see where it goes. And if they book Eddie to be strong, if they book the title to be strong, if they book Lashley to continue to be strong, then all is good. All is good. So I think we're pretty one-sided in our opinion. I know a lot of our listeners don't agree, and which is fine. So we'd like to hear your comments here on Twitter. YouTube. Leave your comments with your opinions and what you think about it and why you think Eddie is a bad choice for champion. I mean, I've asked people, well, who did you want to beat him? Who,
You know what? I'm up for spirited debate. Let's exchange. Let's have a respectful exchange of ideas and opinions. If you don't agree with us, that's fine. We will talk about it, as I mentioned just now, respectfully on Twitter. So please, no comments like your mother's a twat or anything like that, just because we don't agree. but we can talk about it. But you know what, guys, I can see why I understand why people were upset, because we heard the spoilers and we were like, they did what? And since we don't go into detail about spoilers on a broadcast, Mike, myself, Kyle, and the guys on the Hillcast that we mentioned, the only way that they could pull this off is they have to sell the Boston Knee Party. They have to sell that move as what did it, or else it's not going to work. and they did it the right way. But we were like, how? And I said earlier, and this not about half hour ago, I hate when you pay for a pay-per-view and then I get a title change for free. Do one or the other, but don't do both in the same weekend, in the same week. That can be rather perplexing. But they did it the right way. Would have been nicer if the title change would have happened a week later, but they did what they did and they executed it. This is one thing on this episode of Impact that they got right as far as execution.
And here's not BQ, but Brian, the marketing student, speaking. This has been, aside from the final deletion stuff and the broken angles and the decay, what angle in TNA has been this talked about on social media this year?
The Hardys and the Decay.
Yeah, I'm saying besides that.
Oh, besides that, yeah. I mean, Lashley and EC3 if you want it, but mainly it's been the Hardys and the Decay. Yeah.
Right, but I'm saying aside from that, Eddie winning the title.
I can't think of anything.
That's what I'm saying. It's hard. Besides Eddie winning the title, yeah.
Great old pulling a turkey leg out of his tights.
Yeah, that's a close number 3. But that's what I'm saying. Again, this is the marketing person in me speaking. That is part of the game here. All right, that's part of getting viewers who haven't seen TNA in a while, casual viewers if they're familiar. It's getting people talking about the product in a time that all we're talking about is Vince buying the library. Now people are talking about Eddie. They might be complaining, but that's part of the game here. If EC3 won the title, it would have just been like EC3 won the title. It wouldn't be a heated, spirited debate on social media where everyone's writing about it. Everyone's writing about Eddie carrying the title. Everyone's talking about it on the podcast. So that's
and no one's talking about the sale.
Exactly. That's part of the game here that people got to understand. They're not just booking for us at home. There's a bigger picture, and marketing comes into play. So that's going to do it for us today. We want to thank Mike for swinging by. We'll definitely have him on again. Mike, plug your links again for us.
Sure. It is soundcloud.com/MCLarkin92. It's the S&M Show Podcast Network, where you can check out all audios such as the Wrestling Maniacs podcast that I do with Kyle, and Will has been on a couple of those episodes, great audios. The S&M Show Podcast, and a lot of great wrestling audios on that as well. And you can follow me on Twitter at SMShow1. The last thing I'll say is tomorrow I have 2 interviews set up, 1 wrestling and 1 music. So stay tuned for those.
Good deal. We definitely will check them out. And for Will and Kyle and Mike, this is BQ. Thanks for listening. And give us a thumbs up. Leave your comments. Again, spirited but respectful debates. And we will talk to you. All right. And we're out. Peace.